From the streets to the shadows, and finally to the silence, let us now turn our ears to the whisperings of another time. How do we get from the noisy markets to the silent tomb? Very easily, my dear listener, with a story. Join me now as I take you to the quiet rebellion of a woman whose words were too dangerous for her time. Her name was Christine de Pizan. She was a writer whose words could cut like knives. What did she write about? All sorts of things, but mostly how unfair life was for women. Imagine, if you can, living in a world where people think you worth less than a man just because you reborn a woman. That was Christine's world. But instead of keeping quiet, she wrote books. Books about how women are as smart as men, as strong as capable. She wrote about how they should get a fair chance in life. Now, you might think this is very normal, right? Well, not back then. These ideas were like fire in a dry forest. And people, especially men who liked keeping women quiet, didn't want them to spread. So what did they do? They tried to stop her from writing. They said bad things about her books. They even threw her books into the dirty Seine River. But do you know what happened? Nothing. Her books kept getting better and more famous. And guess what? Christine kept writing. She didn't care what they said. She wrote so much that some people called her the most prolific writer of her time. Yes, she wrote that much. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think her books were better because she wrote so much? Well, probably not. Just that no one could stop her. She wrote about everything, even kings and queens. For example, she wrote a book for Charles V, the King of France, and another for Queen Isabella of Bavaria. She also wrote a book called The Treasure of the City of Ladies. And in this book, she talks about how women are great and can do anything men can do, like be doctors, lawyers, and even kings. She says that women are just as smart as men and deserve the same rights. Now let's talk about why this was a big deal back then. Women weren't allowed to go to school or own property. They couldn't even get divorced if their husband left them. But Christine didn't care about any of this. She kept writing and writing. And her books became so popular that they were read all over Europe. Even though she faced a lot of problems because of her ideas, she never gave up. She kept writing until her last breath. And do you know what's amazing? Her books are still read today. More than 600 years later, people still read her books and get inspired by her story. And all this because she had a quill in one hand and courage in the other. Christine de Pizan might seem like just a name from the past, but she reminds us that fighting for what's right is always worth it, no matter how tough it gets. Her story shows us that words can change the world, but it takes courage to use them that way. Scene 3. Whispers from the ancient catacombs as we wind our way deeper into the labyrinthine heart of 14th century Paris. The clamor of the marketplace gives way to the hushed murmurs of a different realm. Allow me to introduce you to the catacombs. Not the catacombs you might have heard of, grand and imposing, but a Paris catacomb. Here the earth is our only roof, the air thick with the weight of centuries. Picture this, if you will, a sprawling network of tunnels, a subterranean maze where time seems to stand still. The air is heavy with the scent of aged stone and something else, something indescribable, yet profoundly haunting. In this hallowed space beneath the bustling streets above, rest the remains of countless souls, their stories whispered in the rustling of the wind. The flickering flame of your candle dances in the gloom, casting elongated shadows that writhe and twist like phantoms. The silence is profound, broken only by the drip, drip, drip of unseen water echoing the relentless march of time. The air grows colder as you descend deeper into the earth. A dampness seeps into your clothes, a chilling reminder of the finality of this place. The darkness is absolute, impenetrable, pressing in from all sides. You strain to make out shapes in the gloom, to discern faces in the shadows, but all you see are phantoms born of your own imagination. The silence is deafening, amplifying every heartbeat, every creak of the ancient bones that surround you. It's a silence that speaks volumes, a testament to lives lived and lost in the bowels of the earth. As you navigate the labyrinthine passages, you feel a sense of awe mixed with trepidation. The weight of history presses down on you, a tangible presence that envelops and chills. You are but a visitor in this subterranean kingdom of the dead. A pilgrim in search of understanding, in a realm where death is the only certainty. And finally, As the final scene unfurls, we transport ourselves to the echoing halls of nobility. Here, amidst the silken tapestries and the glimmering chandeliers, the whispers of a bygone era come alive. Imagine yourself stepping into a world of opulence and intrigue, where power is measured in carats and where silk whispers secrets sweeter than honey. Sunlight streams through stained glass windows, painting the floor in hues of crimson and sapphire. The air is thick with the scent of beeswax and wood smoke, mingling with the subtler aroma of old money and new ambition. Tapestries depicting scenes from antiquity or heraldry hang heavy on the walls, muffling the echoes of a long, silent past. Chandeliers cast dancing shadows as flickering candlelight plays hide-and-seek among the folds of velvet curtains. Polished suits of armor gleam like sentinels guarding memories in place of their former masters. The murmur of voices drifts from hidden doorways. Voices speaking in hushed tones of courtly love, of battles won and lost, and of fortunes made and spent. Persian rugs, fit for a king, are scattered with scattered dice and goblets, remnants of games played and drinks shared. The very air vibrates with the ghosts of laughter and murmured secrets. As you wander through these chambers, you can almost feel the weight of history pressing upon you. Each step echoes with the footsteps of nobles long gone, their laughter and whispers fading into the tapestry of time. Here, in the gilded cage of privilege, you find more than just luxury. You find a world unto itself, complete with its own joys and sorrows, loves and losses, triumphs and tragedies. This is the world of the French nobility in the 14th century, where life was a game of intricate balances, where survival meant navigating a minefield of etiquette and alliances, where the cost of ambition could be measured not in gold, but in the shadow of a raised eyebrow. Now, I invite you, dear listener, to pause and ponder the stark contrasts we've encountered tonight. From the grime and grit of the marketplace to the ethereal chill of the catacombs. And finally, to the suffocating opulence of the noble halls, Paris in the 14th century reveals its many faces. A city of both light and shadow, of bustling commerce and silent tombs, of silk and sweat. Which facet resonated with you the most? The grime, the grave, or the gilded cage? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If tonight's journey has ignited your curiosity, we invite you to embark on more adventures with us. Click here to delve into another tale and keep exploring the rich tapestry of human history with us. Till next time, keep seeking those hidden corners of the past. Who knows? You might just find yourself whispering stories from history, just as we have done tonight. Until next time, keep seeking those hidden corners of the past. Who knows? You might just find yourself whispering stories from history.
Curious case of Marguerite Porete now. Let us gently shift. The marketplace fades behind us, its cries and clatter softening into memory. We walk now along quieter streets, toward a cloistered hall where parchment rustles, to minds quietly wander beyond the bounds of doctrine. We are still in Paris, but it is a different Paris. One of books, of whispered philosophies, of words passed cautiously from candle to candle, soul to soul. In this chapter of our journey, we meet a woman whose name was nearly lost to time, Marguerite Porete. She lived in the late 13th and early 14th century, not a nun, not quite a scholar, and yet something of both, a mystic, a writer, a quiet rebel. She called herself simply a Bagan, one of many women across Europe who lived communally, embraced poverty, and sought spiritual lives outside the rigid rules of the church. But Marguerite did something few women dared. She wrote a book, and not just any book, but a book of love, divine love, of the soul's annihilation into the eternal, of God, as not merely above, but within. Her work was called The Mirror of Simple Souls. It was lyrical and complex. It's written in Old French, not Latin, and it asked questions that frightened those in power. She wrote of a soul so surrendered to God that it no longer needed the church, no longer needed confession or penance or even virtue. To some, these were the musings of a mystic. To others, they were heresy. Imagine her, if you will, writing quietly by lamplight. Parchment spread before her on a rough wooden table. The room is small. A single window lets in gray morning light. Outside, the cathedral bells toll softly, but inside, the silence of thought. She rewrites a passage, pausing on a single word, then traces it gently with the tip of her quill. She does not speak loudly. She does not protest in public squares. But her words travel. They move from hand to hand, from Flanders to Paris, from quiet hearts to wary eyes. Eventually, they reach the ears of the Inquisition. Once, twice. She refuses to recant. She will not defend herself, will not engage in the rituals of her own judgment. And so, a decision is made. In the year 1310, in the shadow of the cathedral at Notre Dame, Marguerite Porete is condemned for heresy. She is brought to a public square. Her book burned before her, and then she too is consumed by flame. The crowd watches in silence, not because they understand, but because they fear. Yet somehow her book survives, hidden, copied, translated. Centuries pass. The church forgets her name. Scholars misattribute her words to anonymous monks, but still, the mirror remains. And now, in this quiet night, her voice reaches you soft as breath. She asked only that the soul, in its simplicity, be allowed to love God freely, without fear, without intermediaries, without the noise of the world. In a time of rigid dogma, her silence spoke volumes. Now, let that silence remain with you for a moment, like a candle flickering low, a woman, alone, yet not forgotten. Her words, still drifting, centuries later, through the stillness of night.